Third is here, everyone. I got my ballot in the mail, the missus as well, obviously. Dropped ours off on November 2nd, so this is November 3rd. Early morning when I'm shooting this. With our ballots, we were able to drop them off at a voting center. It's actually a drive-through center. You just rolled up. There was actually nobody in line. I drove right through. We dropped the ballots off. They gave us the cheesy stickers and done. I don't know that that feels any different. I've heard people they've interviewed on the news saying that they like to go in person because they like to feel part of it. I get that. But for me, I like the whole convenience of filling it out at home. But that's something I requested. I've always done it that way. So to have a mass kind of mail-in system that they're implementing for this election, a little bit different. You suspect, though, that given this, that depending on how the results go, if the results go the way that a certain party wants, that this would be something that they would try to roll out more nationally in future elections. Just, hey, every state mail out a ballot. I don't necessarily have a problem with that. There has to be a high threshold for ensuring that fraud doesn't occur. Nobody's going to say that it's going to be fraud on a mass scale, like 20, 30, 40% of the votes. But the sanctity of voting has to be protected, obviously. You can't have this situation where both sides are contesting the election. So, being on the West Coast, I have a bit of an advantage over you East Coasters out there who may be watching this video. In the sense that if you have to work at 8 a.m., 9 a.m., you go to work early, that you most likely aren't going to be able to stay up until 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning, wherever you're at, to watch the results. Me, I'm up at night. The work I do keeps me up throughout the night, and then I sleep during the day. So I'm going to be able to see kind of things that are rolling in, and a lot of you know this as well. They've told us over and over again, the states that are the ones that are going to decide the election. And most of those are on the East Coast. It seems, by and large, and the Midwest, of course, the upper Midwest. What we'll be looking for is Florida, Georgia, they're saying, I don't know. North Carolina, Pennsylvania, Ohio, and then Michigan, maybe Wisconsin, are things that we're kind of looking at. The thing that's interesting, and this is not analysis, and I'm not advocating for a vote one way or another because the person I voted for isn't going to win.
Get the West Wing ready? Huh? Get the West Wing. 19%, 40,000 votes. Kentucky. Get the West Wing ready. Let's go. Let's go.
And one of the people I voted for on my city council, they may not win either, but what can you do, right? So this isn't analysis in any way. There's professionals out there that do this stuff on the internet, far more wise, far more educated than me, but these are just some thoughts that I've had when I've been going through the past couple weeks trying to take in as much information as possible, going with the Kardashian method, as I like to call it. So I'm coining this term. You've heard it here first. When it comes to the election, we're going with the Kardashian method. And that is taking in as many polls as possible. In the process of taking in all of these polls under the Kardashian method, as many polls as possible, remember, the bigger the poll, the better. The larger the margin of error, the better. I've seen so many things going so many different ways, and I'm sure that a lot of you out there probably feel the same way I do. Obviously, you have your particular candidate you want to win at the national level, Senate, Congress, state, and all the way down to your local level as well, like I said, city council and things like that. I'm sure you have your preferred candidates, and you'll be watching your races, you'll be watching certain propositions within your state. On these national polls, it's just been all over the place. We have these forecasts. I saw the NBC, I think it was, Wall Street Journal poll or something like that said Biden is up 10 points nationally. Then you see other ones where it's a 6-point lead for Biden. And then you get into the battleground states. Right here you see they have Trump up 2.9 in Pennsylvania, but I've seen other ones where they're trying to tell me that Biden's up 5. Same thing with Ohio. On this particular poll, they showed Trump up 1.2, but I've seen polls where they said Biden's up 3 or 4. Same thing with Florida. They show Biden up. And here they say Florida is, they've actually got Biden at a +1, Trump up in North Carolina and Georgia slightly. But I've seen other polls where, again, they say Biden's up a couple points across most of these battleground states. But what I was trying to do then was I was trying to go to the left, trying to check out the far left, trying to check out the center, check out the right, and just listen to different commentators over the past few days. And just try to get an idea of what people were thinking. And though the sample size isn't large of individuals that I've watched, again, Kardashian method, you'd need a larger sample size. Even though the sample size wasn't large, most of the individuals obviously on the left that I was listening to, and the far left, progressive types, they were saying that they think Trump is going to lose. Then you have this thing on the right where they're all pretty confident that Trump's going to win. Now, maybe it's always like that. I mean, it's like a sporting event. Every fan goes into it thinking, or hoping, right, that their team is going to win. Nobody's going to come out and say, oh no, we don't have a chance. Why are we even showing up? So that's the confusion. You just hear things from all sides of the aisle and it makes you wonder. Somebody's going to be wrong. Somebody's going to be disappointed. Somebody's going to be way off. You have all these predictive models. Democrats are clear favorites to maintain control of the House. Now this has a lot to do with the seats that are up for grabs, that from what I was reading in this analysis, that of the seats that are up for grabs that the Democrats currently have an incumbent in, there's only maybe one that's really not safe. There's a few others that are possibly not safe, that the Republicans could take control of those. On the Republican side, you have 4 or 5 different seats they say here that could lean Democrat or could fall into the Democrat category. So what they predict here is that the Democrats will maintain control of the House and possibly actually pick up a couple seats. Now with the Senate, same thing. They project a 75% chance that the Democrats flip the Senate. And that again is because of the electoral map. That the Republicans are defending 22 seats, I believe, and it was 13, I think, for the Democrats. So just the way the map sets up, it's not really favorable for Republicans this go around. There's only one seat that they had flipping, and that was the Doug Jones seat. You remember that whole thing with Roy Moore back a couple years ago, right? So that's a seat they see as really vulnerable. And I believe they had 4 seats that were currently being held by Republicans that they have as really vulnerable. Those are just some polls. I see other people talking about the Trafalgar poll and the primary model poll and all these other polls that at this point favor the Republicans, Donald Trump specifically. So many different polls, so many different types of predictions being thrown out, and who do you trust? Who do you go to? Do you look to the people that got it right in 2016, which were very few? Do you look to the people who have been around the longest and had a generally good track record up until 2016? Are these polls being artificially inflated towards Biden to suppress the Republican vote, or to depress the Republican vote, I guess would be perhaps a better way to put it? Are they trying to discourage Republicans from coming out and voting on Election Day by saying, hey, don't even bother, the race is already over. So many Democrats have already sent in their mail-in ballots that it's pretty much done, that there's no chance for Trump to win. Would the media and would all of these polling groups really be doing something like that? Would they be staking their reputations? Reputations, right? Those great reputations they have. Would they really be putting their reputations on the line just to try to suppress or depress Republican turnout in hopes that that'll kind of sway these battleground states so that they'll fall into the Biden column in the hopes that he'll get over 270 electoral votes and thus capture the presidency? These are just some thoughts that are running through my head. I'm sure a lot of you are thinking the same thing. I'll just leave it at this. Again, just make sure you get out and vote. Get everybody you know to go out and vote. And why is it that we see in certain cities all of these businesses are boarding up? What are they expecting? Are they expecting a MAGA mob to come through should Biden be declared the winner on November 3rd or 4th? Do they expect the MAGA folk to rise up and start burning their hats in the streets Instead of throwing Molotov cocktails, maybe they'll light their MAGA hats on fire and try to throw those through glass windows. Or is there some other faction that these businesses are worried about? I don't think that they're wrong to be worried, because everything we've seen over the past 5 to 6 months has taught us that there's most likely going to be a lot of drama, damage, and destruction in the coming days. I certainly wouldn't want to be a business owner in one of these large cities. And you can name those: LA, Philly, New York, Chicago, Atlanta. All of the cities we've seen, Minneapolis, all of the cities we've seen have issues throughout the summer. I feel for individuals living in those cities, mainly the blue cities, Seattle, Portland. Can't forget about you guys. Shout out to you. What are you going to do on the 3rd and 4th? Are you going to have something for us? Come on, we're expecting some drama out of you. Seattle, Portland, come on, let's go. Don't let us down. But what is it that these businesses and these government officials know that we don't? Is this telling in any way? Do they expect a Trump victory and the far left to get out in numbers and continue the damage that they've been doing for the past 5 to 6 months? Like I said, I feel bad for these business owners in these cities, because the police force and the presence isn't going to be large enough to help them if the mobs are going to be as large as it seems like they're expecting. And even if the forces are large enough, we've seen in a lot of these cities where the local government officials really put constraints on the police in terms of what they can do to defend people, basically leaving the people to fend for themselves. And that's something that's sad and something that I don't want to see in the next few nights, but something that unfortunately I think that we are going to see. I'll just leave it there. I hope that all of you are doing well. Vote, encourage others to vote, and we'll see. Let's hope for the best. Let's hope that all of this pessimism that we've heard in terms of how people are towards one another, that it's really just rhetoric and nothing comes of it. Let's hope for the best. Obviously, plan for the worst, but hope for the best. All right, everybody. Be well. Thanks for watching.